Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. Today, we will be diving into ways to improve your project and portfolio analytics and reporting. My name is Sarah Howard, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called Progility. We've been implementing Microsoft PPM solutions for over 15 years now for large enterprises. So that includes everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. So we really specialize in implementing these solutions for large enterprises. People tend to get a hold of us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all of their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas. On the left, you'll see that we offer deployment and consulting services. This is Progility's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with line of business applications, delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing business intelligence practice that leverages best-in-class solutions such as Microsoft's Power BI. Progility also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 15 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, and connect data between your PPM system and Azure DevOps, Teams, Microsoft Planner, and Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, Progility provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, which is designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solutions supported. We also offer training for your end users and administrators, and we offer an e-learning course that can improve consistency and adoption for your users and your project management tools. We do have a set of upcoming webinars covering topics ranging from leveraging Microsoft Teams and Project Together to leveraging Power Apps with your Microsoft Project Management solution. All webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can register for one or multiple events through the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite Progility in your browser. We hope you can join us for these sessions, which were designed based upon your feedback over the last 6 months. On April 7th, we'll be hosting a half-day virtual conference, which is specifically designed for you and your teams. The special event will feature speakers that include 3 successful enterprise clients presenting their lessons learned and best practices for deployment and adoption of project, presentations by Microsoft experts on the state of project and the overall direction, input from Microsoft specialists in different verticals highlighting how businesses are using and deploying project and portfolio management, and guidance from Progility experts on how to successfully plan and drive adoption of your PPM solution, as well as helping you better understand the changes going on in the marketplace for these solutions. You and your teams won't want to miss this exciting online conference, and registration is limited, so sign up today. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube, which is listed on this page here. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with agile and line of business applications. So feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. With that, I am going to hand it off to Rob Hirschman, partner at Progility, who is going to go through our content. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. If you do have questions as we go through this, you can log them in the Q&A manager in the chat window, and we will take those towards the end. Today, we'll be focused on ways you can improve and really develop a strategy for best practice reporting, analytics, and dashboarding out of your Microsoft PPM application. So we'll start out with explaining some of the business challenges around getting reports and dashboards from your system. We'll talk about a best practice approach to structuring your PPM reporting and analytics and how you can really build a good, solid approach and strategy for doing so. We'll give you a demonstration of some of these technologies in play to give you some ideas around it. And then we'll hop right into some client examples of some successful organizations that are actively using this and show you some sample reports that they're using. We'll talk a little bit about what a reference architecture or set of architectures would look like as you go down this road, and talk through the importance of planning. If if you're thinking about actually doing better reporting out of your system, or you don't have a system yet, you're thinking about implementing one, here are some of the questions and planning considerations you can keep in mind. Hopefully this is useful to you. Some critical challenges in working with some of our key clients, we did ask them, what is the big problems you're seeing as it relates to reporting? And there's really 6 or 7 that we found were consistent. The first is really getting an understanding of the status of all the projects you have across your portfolio, going to one place and be able to ask different questions to be able to segment your projects in different ways. That was one of the key challenges. The next is providing management with the information they need to make key business decisions. Really important that you think at a management level, what kind of information are they going to desire really to drive decision making? And importantly, the middle one here, really trust in the data. You understand that the data is going to be trustworthy, it's going to be consistent, that the data is there about schedule and cost and history of performance is all accurate and kept up to date by the right people and validated by the PMO. We do find in matrixed organizations a challenge with actually reporting when you have different kinds of projects, and often when you have projects that follow different methodologies. You've got some folks that use waterfall, some modified iterative approach, some use agile, some are using safe agile, and how do you bring all this information together to make the right kind of decisions? We also find most folks say reporting is disjointed. You've got folks that are using Excel to extract data and put it in pivot tables. Others are using tools more advanced like Power BI. Some are using SSRS or a competing Microsoft platform like a Tableau or a Click. How can you bring all this information together to make the right decisions no matter what the tools? So we'll talk through what that should look like. And also, you really want to use that data to do trending. And that's what analytics is all about, to look back at the past, to use that to forecast forward, to really improve how you do business and what your processes are. So when we talk to clients, and hopefully, like you're running into some of the challenges like these. So when we look at an online platform like Microsoft PPM or Project Online, what are some of the key challenges? And obviously getting a core system in place and getting trustworthy data is number one, but getting access to that data becomes very, very important. What are the protocols or mechanisms to get the data access? And then once we have the data, what are we going to do with it? We don't just want to extract it out, put it in a reporting tool, have a big mess or a blob of data, and then go from there. We want to do some kind of logical data staging and have an extract, a transform, and a load approach. So we're just getting the information we need to make decisions. If you think about it, you're going to have different constituencies that are going to need different information, and just dumping all the data off on them doesn't make a lot of sense. So you're going to have a data staging approach, but importantly, a logical and technical data architecture behind this. And you want to think about that as you're designing your project management system, because that'll inform how your reporting is going to be structured as well. And having that logical data architecture can make the difference as you move forward and you want to have more flexible reporting downstream. We also have to think about the methods we're going to use and the mechanisms and the resources to create reports and deliver those reports, as well as dashboards. Everybody comes to us and says on day one, I want management dashboards, and that's really great. We got to think about all the stuff before that. And the dashboards are just going to be a roll-up of information that's in the first 4 here, as well as subsets of reports you already have. So dashboards are just the result of those performance metrics and everything that's set up in your PPM system. Importantly, you're going to want to have users see different information and be limited to different data sets as you start to go to an enterprise level. So what are the user access? What are the security behind this? How do I ensure I don't have the wrong people seeing the wrong information? I don't want team members seeing cost information. And I don't want executives seeing detailed task level information. I want to be able to lock that down so people only see what they want them seeing. Additionally, you want to leave yourself open and flexible to support future requirements, because the reality is one of the biggest demands on your PMO is going to be after the system rolls out, hey, I want to make a change, I want more reports, and I want more reports like this, which means they want more access to data, which is fantastic. But that may also often call to, I need to restructure or update the structure of my PPM solution, my data architecture, my queries, everything behind that to get information out that I may think I may need in the future. So these are really some of the core considerations when we talk about getting data from an online PPM solution like Project Online. But with every BI solution, whether it's for a project management or a financial or a CRM or an accounting system, it all begins with, you start with the business questions you're looking to answer and the constituencies who are going to ask these questions. If you can define those key questions, that will help determine the data you're going to need, will inform what you're going to be setting up, planning, and managing in your project management system, which will drive the reporting out of that. So a lot of times we start with the end in mind, and then we kind of drive from there. And we find a lot of people just want to turn it on and light it up out of the box. And the reality is what's out of the box, and templates are a really good starting point, but the reality is every organization is going to have a unique set of reporting needs. Some may need detailed timesheet reports and detailed cost information. Others may need just high-level summary information. You want to start out with those questions and have that drive the technology decisions as much as anything else. So when we look at it, there are a couple in a PPM world, a couple typical audiences and the kind of needs from a reporting perspective that most folks are going to need or want. We start with, on the left, the program and portfolio managers. These are the folks that are responsible for delivery of the work. That's where you're going to want to have program and portfolio risk and issue management, program and portfolio performance indices, tracking things like interdependencies and milestones across your projects and your programs. To the right of that, you have the project managers, the ones that are responsible for delivering on the projects. So they're going to want to drive day-to-day status reporting, issue and risk reporting, project performance, things like change control, action items, the things that need to happen for them to do their jobs and successfully plan, deliver, and manage on their projects in scope and in budget. We then have a group of constituents that are resource managers, and these are the people that manage people. They need to manage and track resource capacity, have a view into utilization and demand, do things like timesheet management and timesheet compliance because they're approving time, look at a future forecast of resources so they can do resource capacity and load planning. And that's a dedicated role in a PPM system, which may cross over with some of your other roles as well. And finally, a lot of these decisions end up at the executive level. Executives want to see portfolio performance. How's the entire portfolio doing? Be able to drill down and see where are projects in their life cycle. What's the governance of those? Whether they're agile, waterfall, or some kind of a hybrid. What's the cost performance? What have we spent versus what we should have spent? And do we need to move that if given a certain situation or changing set of needs? They want to look at portfolio level risks and issues. Where are the biggest problems that are occurring? Where are the potential problems that are coming up as risks? And finally, tracking benefits. We want to see what we're getting out of these investments so we make sure we're investing in the right places and do real portfolio decision making. So if you can start by mapping out what those audiences are and the level of information they need, the high level data they need, you can start to ask more detailed business questions. And this will all drive your strategy. So when we talk about building a really good reporting approach and strategy, it all begins with the information the organization is going to be gathering. And then we see a couple of different buckets of information. The core within your PPM system is based on 5 core elements. You have projects and project-related information. You have resource and resource-related information. That would be people, equipment, machinery, and capital. You have work and work-related information. Then you've got assignments, which are the lowest building block in any project where you're taking a resource, smashing it together with actually a task, and you get an assignment. And then a lot of times that is tracked in timesheets. So you want to do some kind of timesheet management and timesheet reporting. The core of your PPM reporting would be built around that. Everything on top of that becomes an extension of that. A lot of organizations we work with, as we mentioned, want to do program reporting, and they may want to have metrics at a program level that aggregate data from the projects below that. Well, we need to plan and set that up as we're deploying our PPM system. Some organizations want to do portfolio management and just roll up all the projects, or do more strategic top-down portfolio management. And sometimes it's a one-to-many or a one-to-one. You need to think through that and plan on it. Organizations we work with that do a lot of iterative or agile work often map in terms of iterations, but also initiatives and top-line epics that are going to drive the business forward. You want to plan and manage around that. Also, business strategies and goals. Do we want to map around that and have that as an extension of our reporting? And finally, financials. A lot of organizations we work with track financials on projects at a detailed level, and they also have project schedule information and work and resource information at the bottom. How do I bring that information together? So the important thing is, as you're designing your project management system, your project online system, you're going to be able to actually set up project online to support a lot of these different components. Definitely the core components at the bottom, certainly some at the top, programs, portfolios, initiatives. Then you want to start to think through from a strategies perspective. Do I want to use this tool to track my strategies, my portfolio management? Do I want to do it in a strategic portfolio management application? And financials, are those in this system or a different system? So a lot of times as we're building our strategy for reporting, we have to start to consider, is there additional information in another system that needs to play into the strategy? An example of that would be a help desk application. Maybe we have a single intake process for any request coming into IT through our help desk application, but we want to triage some of those into projects, and we want one place to go to see all of the information in one place, the ideas, the requests, but also the resources, who's working on what project and non-project work. Well, if that data is in a system like a Remedy Now or a ServiceNow, but I've got all my project information in Project Online, I need to bring that information together. That's where a really good reporting strategy can come into play. So you're not building integration between systems, you're potentially creating a reporting layer on top and a strategy around that. So these are things you want to think about as you're starting to design the data model or your structure, your star schema that's going to influence your reporting. From the data model, that'll flow down into your reporting structure, who needs access to what data, what kind of reports, and that will then drive to your dashboards. If you start with the dashboards in mind and work backwards, it may be a little more challenging. You definitely want to know what those outputs need to look like, but that's going to actually inform everything you see on the left and the middle here. So it does take some good planning and building a really good strategy around this, but once you have this in place, it becomes scalable. You don't need to rework it as new requirements come in. You've made the upfront investment to do it right. And finally, at this level, we've got our data design and relationships. That's all worked out. So if we want to add new extensions and new components, we can do that fairly simply. And then we've got our outputs. Our structure is already there. We've got our tools already selected, and we're going to talk about the tools and what the right tool for the job is. But really, the value of having a really solid PPM data architecture is it's really going to allow you at an organizational level to pivot when things change. Let's say something like COVID comes up, the environment changes, you need to cut your budgets by 50%, or like a lot of healthcare organizations we work with, one day later, they had to start to track and report on COVID related work. They can go into their PPM system, they can create new timesheet work items, they can assign these to team members, they can have faith and trust that that information is then going to be in their reporting structure, and they can drive reports out because they already have reports on time tracking for other elements. Now I can do it on COVID, so I can report to the federal government for my CARES Act reporting. It's a good example of it. Or a lot of times we have a new executive comes in, a new CIO, and says, hey, she'll tell you, hey, I really want to get this information out. How are we tracking at an initiative and a program level, strategy-wise? You can go in there and start to update the configuration, manage around that, and show value in the existing system versus an executive saying, well, I don't think we have it. Let's look at a different PPM system. And then you're kind of starting from scratch. And finally, you also want to think forward. Think about potential business questions that you've never asked before. In a changing environment, this is the reality. We find that a little bit of planning up front can go a really long way as it relates to these tools and processes. So that's a little guidance on the upfront strategy part. We wanted to jump in this point and give you some examples of this in a demonstration, just to give you a feeling for what's possible. Okay, so I'm going to jump into Office 365. I'm going to go into Power BI. And Power BI is a tool a lot of folks are really relying on these days to get more analytics, trending, reporting out. We're going to start our reporting more at a portfolio level, and I'm going to show you some examples of some preview reports we have, some ones that have been done for other clients. So let's start at the portfolio level. And at a portfolio level, a lot of executives want to start with a high-level view across the entire portfolio. This is a portfolio report, or a dashboard in this case, that is aggregating information across multiple programs. So we may say we have 21 programs going on across the organization within our portfolio, and then we have the ability to come and drill down and say, well, just show me the programs that are in the red right now, that are in trouble, which to me is very, very important. And then I may say this transformation program is really important. Let me click on that. I'm interrogating the data. I see the information. I got 15 projects. It looks like my budget was initially $1 million. Now it's almost $4 million. That's probably a big problem. So using a tool like a Power BI and having a good solid data structure and relationship between portfolios and programs, I can then drill down and I can say, well, let's look at the transformation program. And now we're down to a level of a transformation program. We can see we have 15 projects, but again, I just want to see what's in trouble. And I want to see what's potentially in trouble in yellow and what's definitely in trouble in red. So by drilling into that, I can see I've got the 4 projects here. I've got a double fiber, health assessment, audio visual, this iPhone upgrade. What are the really troubled projects we have? And then we can simply click on or drill into that, and we can see the specific budget for each project all in one place. So it allows us to get from a macro to a micro level. Now, when I'm an executive, I can pick up the phone and go, hey, I see we have 4 projects in trouble, and this audio visual one is really in trouble. What are we doing to mitigate those risks we have out there? Do we have key issues? And by the way, can we look at issues at that level? So we can say, what are the biggest issues we have right now? What are the high visibility issues? It looks like there's 3 of them here. We can drill into that, but then we can look at the risks. And we can, again, drill down because we're capturing this and we've got the data structure in our PPM system. What's the high visibility risk we have? How much is it going to cost us, and who's owning that today? And finally, at a management level, we can go and look at a program structure. We can start to say from a schedule perspective, what's the timing of all this work? And if we want to just look at projects that are going to be delivered in the next 6 or 12 months, we can hone in on that, and we can see visually which project is in trouble. So by getting this level of portfolio reporting, it gives us that ability to get in and drill down. This is what Power BI is really, really good at, is asking those questions and drilling down after you've anticipated the kind of information people need. So the next kind of reporting that we find is very common is more program level paginated reports. reports. And this is where you actually want to have something that's multi-page, not a dashboard, but it's more live data that I can drill into. And this is where SQL reporting services comes into play, or Power BI Premium, which has this embedded in it. One of the nice things about these kind of reports is, just like before with Power BI, you have permissions. You can be very granular and specific with your permissions, and you can actually provide direct access to certain reports to certain user communities like team members, project managers, program managers, and executives. But what we can also do here is go and start to look at programs. So maybe we want a program overview that shows us all of our top programs and how they're doing at that program level. So you can see within a couple of seconds, we've generated a program level report that shows us each program, the health and risk level. This is at a program level, a roll-up level, and we can even do trending and say, where were we before versus where we are today? So we can get these program level reports, and we can also drill down and look into certain things like, what are the milestones going on for a specific program over a period of time? We can select the program, run a report, and then any milestones will show up here. Okay. What we can also do, we've got that overview for the program manager, and we can also click a program overview. So this is where we can go and select maybe a very specific program. We want to run a report on it. And now we've got a multi-page report. And this is where Power BI isn't the best tool, but Power BI Premium and or SSRS are. Now I've got a report that shows me all of the milestones across the program risks, the program issues, all the projects that are a part of that program. And then I can take that and I can send that out into a Word or a PowerPoint or an Excel file or make it into a data feed. So it's really about the right tool for the job based on the kind of reporting you're looking to do. And that'll give you an idea as to what you can do at a project, a portfolio level and a program level. Now, what's really useful for project managers is the ability to go in and do live status reporting. Recommend that they keep their information up to date in the system, and then they can go in and it can save them time, typically 4 to 8 hours a week, simply by driving automated status reports. What a project manager can do is they can actually go in, select the project they want to report off of, and then they've got a full set of status reports that are automatically populated based on the synchronization of the data in your data model. So here we're pulling schedule information such as milestones. We're pulling context. What did we do last period? What are we doing next period? We'll talk about how you do that and have a history behind it in a couple of minutes. You have a description. You have things like risks and issues on projects, percent complete, potentially costs here, late tasks. Really late tasks, meaning they're overdue by a certain percentage. So we can start to do metrics around this and see metrics around performance on our projects. But importantly, we're finding a lot of clients we work with are running their status meetings out of these reporting tools now. They get in a status meeting, they can look at things like late tasks, what's delinquent, who owns those tasks and activities, what's finishing, what's due next week. They can actually start to drill into the issues and risks. So again, instead of pulling this into a PowerPoint and printing it out, let's run through the active risks and issues. Let's see what the biggest risks are. Let's understand that Todd owns this, and let's understand what's being done to mitigate that. And finally, pulling in a timeline report. This is great for on-demand or live status reports and status meetings. And this is all using Power BI, tapping into your project online data model. Now, if you wanted to get a little, again, more paginated, that's where we can come over here to Project Manager Reports using, again, Power BI Premium or SQL reporting services. And this is where we can run very specific reports. For instance, maybe we want a report that shows all the milestones this month. I can pull that up. And now I've got a report that goes across all the projects that are in my portfolio and showing me each and every milestone and how far along they are from a progress perspective. Really a nice feature. Or something that's not really a Power BI feature is the ability to do a multi-page. So let's say I wanted to come in here and I wanted a single status report that had 4 or 5 projects in it. I could come down here. I could select the 4 or 5 projects. Greater Blades project. We'll do the health assessment and one more. And what I do is I view the report. I'm going to run that report. And now it's creating for me a multi-page status report. Almost think of it as a program report or a single report that on each page, if I page forward, has all the information on each project. And it all gets back to that data model. If we look at this, we can see start and finish dates, percent complete, costs and work, milestones. So you can actually take this into a status meeting, print it up or bring it up on the screen, walk through it, and then you can actually save a history of this if you want it in a snapshot or save, memorialize the actual report. So this is where an SSRS or a Power BI Premium is a really, really nice fit. So again, it's all about the right tool for the job. We start talking about resources and resource reports. That's where typically the resource manager is going to want to have a view into different roles. For instance, if they wanted to see maybe a product engineer and start to evaluate which projects are consuming the most project engineering hours. This is beyond what's in Project Online. It's actually taking that and aggregating it, allowing you to do some analysis. Or if you want to see something like resource availability and want to look over the next 6 months for people with specific roles, we can highlight those, our developers. Now we can see who's over and under allocated fitting into specific roles over time. Finally, we can start doing resource graphing and start to look out over a period of time and say, well, let's look at the previous couple of months. Let's look at year to date. And let's look at the next 3 months and start to look at for specific roles and specific departments. Again, it comes down to the metadata and the metrics you're capturing, the ability to get this information out to make decisions. And now if you wanted to do a little more trending around this information, you could go back into your SSRS or your Power BI Premium. You could select maybe a report by role. Now you can go in, and again, it's the same data. We can start looking at our developers. We can start looking at our engineers. We can start looking at our product managers. We can look at things like allocation, proposals, capacity and demand. We can look at forecast versus hours, baseline versus actuals, and generate very specific paginated reports that have a drill down capability. So if I want to see all my engineers, what they're working on, and what's causing an engineering gap, I can do that, and now I have it down to the detailed level. And with the paginated reports, I can do very specific formatting. I can do outputs in a very specific format. So often it's a combination of both, using a Power BI for the stuff you need to be dynamic, and then something like an SSRS or a Power BI Premium for something that's a little more static. And then finally, from a time tracking perspective, a lot of organizations track down at that detailed level. You're going to be able to get time tracking reports. So now you want to look at timesheets, which is a lot of information. You want to be able to drill down maybe by person in a specific time frame to see what projects and non-project activities, as well as administrative time that's being spent. Power BI is great for that, as is SSRS and Power BI Premium. Again, it's the right tool for the job. And these are some examples of the kind of reports you can get out. It's really limitless where you can go from here. We have clients that do dependencies. So maybe you've got relationships between projects and a program, or big relationships, and you want to run a dependency report. You can select a program and start to look at a dependent project, what the successor to that is, what the dependency date is, and by the way, what's the variance? So on my dependencies, what's late and what's on time right now, so I don't have to worry about those things. Or you can start running task level reports as well. We can start looking at task relationships, or we can start looking at a dashboard of all the activities, or even a status from a visualization perspective, or look at things like timesheet compliance. Are we looking at timesheets over a certain period of time and starting to do analysis on that, so we can get down to a detailed task level. And finally, if we want to roll this up to more of a strategic portfolio level, this is where we can have product level portfolios and start looking at products, maybe if we're in an agile world, and start to drill down into the projects within those projects that are actually causing issues and look at financial trending over time. We can start looking at those strategy maps and start looking at cost and risk in project work to identify the outliers, or map that over to strategic themes. So show me everything that's going to improve our revenue streams and improve financial status through procurement. Now I can just drill down into that specific information. So you can see putting a good solid strategy together can lead to a lot of great results. These kind of reports are great starters. They give you good ideas, but building the data and strategy behind that is what's really important in this. So just to give you some examples, and we talk about pivoting, one of our clients in healthcare had a very immediate need back in the spring, and it was really about, we now need to track COVID-related time. So what we did is we went in and helped them very quickly configure Project Online to add COVID-related categories, and then update the reports to be very specific to COVID reporting. And you can see here we've got a report where they can select the time period, they can look at a summary, they can look at the resources, how much time they're spending on COVID, so they could generate that to reply to requests from the government for the CARES Act as they were getting funded for COVID-specific work. It allows you to pivot if something happens or changes. Or here's another report where a client actually goes in and they have an overview. And you'll see importantly at the top, this one report actually gives them a view into information by project type, by project status, as well as by application, which is really a neat pivot this client down in Texas does. It's been very, very successful for them. It allows them to go in and say, how much time and what resources are we actually spending by application, by status of the project or by project type. And then they can drill down and do analysis now that they have the data. They can look at category, they can look at portfolio, they can look at program, and they can make sure they're spending the right time on the right projects and the right investments. So using these tools and having a really good data architecture and a data structure can lead to a lot of success. And finally, it's going to allow you to do more consistent status reporting at the end of the day, where you can look at projects by department or division on the left, look at the breakdown by different type of group or status of those projects or programs or task phases. You have to structure and capture the information in your project management system. But assuming you're doing that, you can start to roll it up by program at the bottom right and then by portfolio. So it provides you the ability to get very macro and drill down to the micro if you need to. So, from a reporting architecture, what does this look like? We get a lot of questions. What should we be doing? Can we just light it up and start using it? It all begins with a good structure in your project online solution and structuring and understanding what data you're going to put in there from a project, resource, work, and collaboration perspective. And again, Project Online is a part of SharePoint Online. These are working together. And then getting that into a reporting tool. And how we do that in Project Online is something called OData. It's the Open Data Protocol, and it's a mechanism. OData 2 is a mechanism for extracting information from Project Online's backend database. So naturally, it's going to pull out data from projects or resources, for tasks, and then for assignments, which are that lowest building block, for issues, risks, and deliverables. And that's what comes out of OData today. So as long as you're building around those structures, you're going to be in pretty good shape. You use that and tap into it with a reporting tool, and then you're going to drive reports from that. So a lot of clients that are just getting started will use these OData feeds and will design different data models or use some of the templates we showed you in the reporting tool like a Power BI and drive reports out of that. Now, what does it look like if you're scaling this over time? How do I get beyond this? And if I want to add those other additional components? Well, it still starts with having a good structure in your Project Online system. And a lot of clients we work with end up putting a PPM data warehouse as a staging area. And this is really important because beyond the OData feeds, there's a lot of other information they may want to include in their reporting. And that could be in custom SharePoint lists, which natively are not available through OData, as well as for API access for any unique information that's in the Project Online database that isn't available through OData today. A data warehouse, like a PPM data warehouse, can assist with extracting and transforming and loading that data and making it available for reporting. So while you'll always have access to the standard information on projects, resources, and tasks, if you start expanding out use of certain functions, maybe you want to take issues to a whole nother level and add 10 fields to issues, or you want to build a workflow around issues and escalate a risk to an issue, and you want risk to have additional fields, that's information that's not in OData that you can get out if you're using staging in a PPM data warehouse. On the right, there's some examples of some other information you may need that, again, would need extensions to get to. That may include monthly and weekly snapshots. So maybe I want to look at not only what have I done this week, but what did I do this week, and what happened last week, and what happened the week before, and are we trending towards a red or a yellow or a green? That's really important, and having a data warehouse or a database to store that information is a great way to have snapshot access. If you have SharePoint list data, maybe you've built custom SharePoint lists because it makes a lot of sense to do change requests and change management, action items, executive decisions. That's awesome stuff, and it all belongs in your PPM system. The problem is it doesn't come out through OData. So you need to have an extension to that, and having a data warehouse that pulls that data naturally is a great way to address that. Or maybe you want to have period indicators that say the end of February, here's where we are, and in January, here's where we were. Think of the watermelon chart, where you've got green on the outside, but it's really yellow on the inside. Having those period indicators requires some kind of a history and some kind of a database to report against, which OData natively doesn't give you. These are just some good ideas as to why you might want to think about having a data warehouse, then hitting that with the different reporting tools, then generate your reports. So if you're looking long-term at a more scalable architecture for where you're headed as an organization, consider putting a data warehouse in place. And, what are some of the benefits of a PPM data warehouse? The first of those is performance. OData in and of the nature of it is fairly slow. Think of going over the wire to pull information. And if you have timesheet records for 800 people, and each record is one slice of one day that somebody is entering, you can end up in the tens of millions of records. And if you're doing timesheets for multiple years, the minute you go in and synchronize and pull timesheets for a 3 or 6 month period, you're going to be waiting for quite a while. And if you need to run a report for management in 20 minutes and you have to synchronize the data, that's going to be pretty frustrating for you. So a data warehouse will run that synchronization on the back end on a scheduled basis or on demand. Additionally, if you read the documentation Microsoft provides for larger data sets, lots of projects, lots of resources, lots of assignments and lots of timesheets, they recommend access to a database in the middle, and that's really a best practice by Microsoft. Additionally, I mentioned the support for non-OData supported fields and content. That would be doing things like monthly project snapshots. That's data you probably want to have in a SharePoint list that you can memorialize and then report off of. Well, you can't do that with OData. Or task level activity updates. We have people that want to go in and create an update on each activity on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, but that data is not going to come out through OData. Well, that's where a data warehouse makes a lot of sense. If you want to extend out that functionality, as I mentioned, to extend out issues and risks and change control and action items, that's a great way to do it as well. A lot of clients we work with want offline access to their data so they can support an audit or a compliance where a team is going to come in and say, show us all your project management data. Well, it's all in Project Online. And if you go and they say, well, I want to see it as of last month, you're not going to be able to do that because what OData is, it's a live feed of the data as of today. But this also gives you data portability. If you wanted to extract all that out and do some additional reporting, or put it in an enterprise data warehouse, you already have a database for that. If you talk to your DBAs, they'll always tell you, give me a database and I'll put the data there. That's what a data warehouse does. Additionally, if you're using any non-Microsoft reporting tools, a lot of organizations we go in, especially in the public sector, have legacy reporting tools in place. Maybe it's Tableau or Click or a different tool. You want to be able to tap into that. And it's always easier for those folks to give them a structured SQL Server database than it is to give them OData 2.0, which is not supported by all those tools. Finally, you may save some money. There's a lower cost point if you go out and you price out using Power BI Premium on a monthly basis versus buying a data warehouse and reporting off it using standard Power BI and SSRS. You're probably going to end up saving money in the range of about 50% a year. So these are some of the benefits of having a PPM data warehouse. But when you think about the different tools you're going to use, there are analytics tools where the need is dynamic, where it's going to be what if. I've got dashboards, I've got queries. This is where Power BI is fantastic. This is where Excel may be really good for your analyst to sit down and do the data analysis and the pivot tables out of a Power BI. This is where SQL reporting services would be a good fit. And also if you have mobile people that want to do mobile dynamic reporting, like an executive wants to see it on his or her iPad, that's a great place to think about using Power BI. When we think about it, reporting is really something different. That's where we're looking at something that's canned, that is a data extract in some way. And Power BI can support some of that reporting, as we showed. Reporting services within Power BI Premium can support some of that. And then full SQL reporting services, which is really designed for that. It was designed, it's a legacy tool, but it was designed for that. Now it's part of Power BI Premium, is designed for that as well. So as you're thinking about what tools am I going to use to report out of this, you're going to have reporting tools, analytics, and BI tools. And they may be one and the same, or you may want to bifurcate them and have different ones because you're going to have different audiences that have different needs. You know, a business analyst has a very different set of data analysis needs than a CIO, and they may want to use a very different set of tools. But you can at least provide the information in a consistent format, provide it and deliver it in the right tools, and then they can do their jobs and make decisions. But the reality is any reporting strategy you develop around your PPM system and Microsoft Project Online may involve multiple tools and multiple data sources, because you'll find a lot of times things like cost information is not going to be in your PPM system. Frankly, probably doesn't belong there. It belongs in your finance or your accounting system and an add-on application to your PPM system, because that's where it's going to be tracked and that's what gets audited every year by your auditors. So you want to really start out with, again, what are the questions you want to ask? What is the source of that information? What are users looking for? And use that to select the tools. You know, if you start the other way around and start with the tools, you may end up kind of having to restart that several times. So we get a lot of folks that say, you know, where do I start down this road? You laid out a nice strategy, you laid out what an architecture looks like. It seems like a lot of work. One of the first things you want to think about and really start asking is, what are the actual business requirements we have for reporting from our PPM system? Get a list of what those requirements are at a very high level and start with that. You want to ask, who needs access to this information to make any kind of business decisions? We talked about the different roles and constituencies. Start at that level and get a high level set of needs and access requirements. Do I need to lock down some of that information? Who gets access to what information? What technologies do we have in place today? What are we planning to do? What's supported in our environment? That's also going to influence, you know, what you're going to choose and the approach you're going to take. Security is a really big one, and data security. You know, do I need to maintain some kind of security access to specific reports? Do I have certain reports where I only want 5 people to see them because they have financial information or management information or decision-making information? I don't want to provide access to other folks into that. How do I lock those down, and what's the right technology to deliver that to make sure I don't have a challenge around security? Devices are becoming more and more important, and we find that a lot of executives are working less on a laptop and more on an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device. If you have executives that are always moving around, they're on airplanes, they're in the field, they're working from home, what are they going to be looking at? And providing reports in the right format is really, really important so they can make decisions and be comfortable with those. A big question, as silly as it may sound, do I need to print out reports? If I do, and if I need to be able to go and create paginated reports, that's a different tool and a different set of requirements than a dashboard. And I want to think about that right from the beginning so I don't run into a wall and I try to print a dashboard, it doesn't have all my information. Dashboards are naturally built to be one-pagers that are live and dynamic. Reports are meant to be static at a certain point in time. Think about both, and some executives just like to print stuff out and put it on their desks. And finally, as a part of this, should I consider putting a deep PPM data warehouse in place as a part of our architecture when we design and build our PPM system? It may end up costing you a little more upfront, but it'll give you a ton more flexibility as your reporting and your PPM requirements emerge. So really kind of to summarize the benefits of putting a really solid business strategy in place around PPM reporting, you'll be able to track and manage your meaningful metrics that are important to the business, whether it's IT or finance or operations. They'll be able to measure what's important to you. Be able to get into a regular cadence of communication so you're not throwing people off. They'll be able to run their status reports when they need them or run ad hoc ones and not keep calling you and saying, hey, this data doesn't look fresh. What's the story? You can let them know, well, timesheet data gets refreshed every night, but project information gets refreshed every 2 or 3 days. So you can build those structures on the back end so the expectations are set. You want to be able to deliver, importantly, reports for everyone, but everyone has to start with a key set of constituents that's going to grow out over time. And it also helps you really get executive buy-in on the solution. The minute they see those dashboards and reports with meaningful metrics is the minute they're going to say, now I know what I'm getting out of this investment. And that's really huge in order to get continued funding for your PPM investment. And finally, it's really going to provide you with that long-term flexibility. The reality is economic situations are going to change, business requirements are going to change, executives are going to change, but you want to have the flexibility in that system to be able to pivot in different ways as things like COVID come up or a new executive comes in the door. This is going to allow you to stay invested in a single platform versus having to move every couple of years, which can lead to a lot of struggles. A lot of that gets down to good reporting. So before we answer any questions, I just wanted to quickly summarize just on the PPM data warehouse, an option we have something called the Hammerhead PPM data warehouse at Progility. It is a pre-built SQL Server data warehouse with an extract, transform, and load engine that can be run by anyone in the PMO that has the permissions to synchronize different sets of data. It pulls all that additional data out, those custom SharePoint lists out, as well as the standard OData information. It includes a preset set of standard SQL reporting services reports. You can tap into it with legacy tools and data tools like Click and Tableau or any other reporting tools you have. It gives you that database to do the things you need to do. So if you are interested in this, instead of building your own, you can actually leverage this product that we have, which comes with maintenance when you purchase it, and then we keep it up to date and it's always working alongside your project online system. Importantly, it can live wherever you want it to live, on premise, in the Azure cloud, it can live wherever you want. It's your data in your database at that point. So at this point, Sarah, I'm going to hand it back to you, and we'll see if we have any questions out there.
Sure. Thanks, Rob. So the chat box is open. So go ahead, and if you have any questions, type them in, and we will read them aloud. I don't think we have any questions today, Rob. So we'll just go ahead and move on. We do have a set of upcoming webinars covering topics ranging from leveraging Microsoft Teams and Project Together to leveraging Power Apps with your Microsoft Project Management solution. So all of our webinars will start at 1 p.m. and you can register for one or multiple events through our Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite Progility in your browser. We hope you can join us for these sessions, which were designed based upon your feedback over the last 6 months. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practiced playlist on YouTube including today's session. To learn more about how Progility can assist with improving and implementing resource management processes, reach out and we'll set up time to review your needs. I'm Sarah Howard with Progility, and my contact information is listed here. Thank you all for attending our webinar today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.